Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the number one most valuable real estate community in existence. Today we've got on the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Max El Cerrador Jiménez joining us today. Max, how are you doing today? Fantastic, fantastic. I appreciate you joining us, man. I'm excited to have you and chop it up with you. What is going on? No, absolutely. Well, I appreciate you coming and making some time to join us today. And I'd love to take this podcast in a bit of a unique direction, man. I know that a lot of the time you get on, and I'm sure that there's thousands of hours, that people can go and watch to get to know a little bit more about Max. I'd love to dive into who you are more as a person, and make this a little bit more about you, man. Wow.
One that's than a lot of people that might be on here. That's it, right? Just a regular guy that decided to make a decision, right? That I wanted to do something else and I wanted to become better than what I was in my current situation. But yeah, man, from Arizona, been here all my life. In Phoenix, Arizona. And so been in real estate now for the last, since 20. I found out about real estate in 2015. Obviously, went in full time by the end of 2016. So, been in real estate since then. Yeah.
That's incredible. And talk to us, man. How did you find out about real estate?
Yeah, it was really unique, right? Like, because most of us that are trying to get into real estate, typically they only think about it in a sense of buying houses and fixing them up, right? Nobody really knows back then, anyways. Now there's so much data out there. Like, nobody back then really wholesaling wasn't as mainstream as it is today, right? And so that's kind of my goal was to, because I have a construction background, so my goal was to buy houses, fix them up, and flip them. And then that transition of trying to figure out how do I do that, right? Because you gotta realize, like, I didn't come from money, right? Like, I didn't wasn't raised rich. I didn't come from money. I just knew how to work hard, and I was very resourceful, right? And
Mm.
so, doing my research, like, where do I find these properties? What I got to connect with? My mother-in-law, and this is, again, divine intervention, right? My mother-in-law was like, "Hey, why don't you call this lady?" And she gave, her name is Carol. Called her up. She's like, "Hey, I'm not in that world anymore. I wish I can help you. I live in Florida. I'm not in Arizona." She gave me the name of an individual that's here in Arizona. Most of you know, most of you don't. His name is Sean Terry.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so, yeah, yeah. So that's who I, looked up, and obviously it was game over from there, bro. I started attending his meetups, and so little by little, right, I started to, do the things that he was teaching, and yeah, took me 11 months to get my first deal, bro. So I was working full time. I was working full time in construction. So and then I was working part time in my business, right, running into obstacles. That doesn't mean that I didn't contract any properties. I think it was 3 or 4 properties under contract, and I had to cancel all of them because I didn't know how to comp. I didn't know how to do, you know what I mean? Like, I was just out there taking action, and a little bit defeating, right? I was like, man, this thing sucks. Maybe it's not for me. But the great thing is I had really good people around me. My father-in-law encouraged me, and my wife's always been supportive. And boom, my first deal hits. It's out of nowhere. It's not the bandit signs. It's not the yellow letters, because that's what I used to use a lot, right? Cold calling wasn't really that prevalent back then. It was somebody that worked at my wife's job at that time. And this is why it's important, John, for your listeners and your viewers, your audience, to understand you have to tell everybody what you do. You never know where your next deal is going to come from. You never know where your first deal is going to come from. So I was telling everybody, I even told my wife, hey, let them know, I buy houses, quote unquote, right? You have to believe it, right? You have to act as if. That is a word that I'm very strong, I don't like fake it till you make it. I believe the phrase act as if holds a lot more water, a lot more connotation, right? Because mentally you have to act as if. So that's what I was doing, bro. Like I was acting as if I already had done deals. And so, yeah, so this lady says, yeah, my condo, I've had it there for 2 years. They had rehabbed it, or sorry, they had basically took down everything, right? Like they were going to rehab it, took the cabinets off, carpet, never did anything with it, was making payments for 2 years on it. And they didn't know they could sell it as is, right? And so I'm like, yeah, contracted it, sold it, contracted it, found a buyer right away, by the way, and made $11,500. That was my first deal. And I quit my job like the next week, like the next month, excuse me. So I went all in, dude.
And that's what it takes, man. And I love that because I was talking to you on the phone, and you were telling me that you were a part of the All In crew at one time, and I live by that philosophy, man. Whatever you do, you got to give it 100%. You got to do
100%,
it. And I remember when I heard about wholesaling the
sorry.
first time, I read one of Carlos's books, the best wholesaling book ever, and it talks about something over and over again, which is burning the boats, right? Burning the boats, going all in. And I love that you said, act as if. I agree. I think that fake it till you make it is false, but having that belief in yourself and acting as if, from the get-go is what ultimately will get you where you want to go.
Here's the thing, right? Like, and maybe we'll get a little bit into this. I don't want to get too ahead, but I want to add something to this because it's really important. Most of us don't really struggle to understand the business. There's so much information out there, right? Now, could there be analysis paralysis and I call it a confusion transfusion, right? Like, yes, absolutely, right? The thing that we have to understand is that we have to work in our belief system, right? Not belief, but with an F at the end, belief, right? Because a lot of us don't come from money. Listen, I didn't even know what a checking account was till I was 18, bro. I used to carry cash in my wallet. Right? My wife's like, what do you got in your pocket? Like a big old, my whole paycheck was in my pocket. So think about that, right? Somebody who didn't grow up around money, somebody who didn't grow up knowing about finances, like, and then now you step into a world where it's all about the finance and the real estate and the economy and money. So you can learn the tactics, you can learn the business, but when you're out there, the one reason why people quit is because they don't believe that they can do this business, right? So you have to almost invest in rewiring in your mindset even more than really learning the business and understanding like sales strategies, right? Because here's what's going to happen, and I've seen this happen training hundreds, if not close to thousands of acquisition people and salespeople. The obstacles are always going to be there. The objections are always going to be there. But if you don't believe that you are worth and you don't believe that you deserve the success, well, guess what? Those things are going to stop you and you're going to quit. That's why most people quit, John. They don't quit because the business is hard. They quit because they haven't reprogrammed themselves. Look, consciously you don't think about it, right? But subconsciously, when you're negotiating a deal and you're like, actually really deserve this, like, come on, bro, you don't come from money, like, yeah, like, come on, like, you're negotiating, you're gonna make a 50K deal. Yeah, right. Right, so you have to rewire your thinking, and I did that. That's part of my journey too when I began, like, the reason why I brought that up and then why it applies to this conversation, because I went 6 months, brother. I kid you not, John. You can ask my wife, and I'm in my house right now. This is my studio. But I went
Dope
6 months
studio, by the
without
way.
listening. Yeah, thank you, brother. I went 6 months without listening to music, watching movies. As a matter of fact, I even skipped out on some parties with family members. Were they upset with me? Yeah. But guess what? Right? At the end of the day, I got through the other side and I was back again attending those birthday parties. I'm not telling people they have to get that crazy, but that's what I did to help me to rewire my thinking and the way I was going to look at this business for longevity, right? That's what you have to do. Yeah.
Absolutely, man. I remember when I made my first six figures, that was when I recognized like how little I actually know about, money. Because now
Yeah,
you're on the hook, you got to pay taxes, you got to budget for things, right? You got to allocate,
exactly.
you can earn the money, but now what is it going to do with the money, right? When you're
Yeah.
starting, you're like, okay, we're excited, we're going to get to this money. All right, now we got some money. What are we going to do to keep the money and make some more money, right? And
Exactly.
I'm right there with you, man. But I was just like you, man. I isolated myself, and I definitely resonate with that because I think that is what it takes. Especially when you're brought up in an environment where everyone around you is kind of like of that caliber, where they're not really thinking about things much bigger than getting a job or going to school and working for somebody else. You really
Yeah.
have to start, from ground level,
Yeah.
and talk to us, man,
You know
about
what's
how it is that you built that mentality, and where did you go to get the information, that brought you to where you are today.
Yeah, it was a hard lesson for me because I was more of, my background, right? I'm Mexican, so us Mexican, it's like work hard, work hard, work hard, right? And it was like never like work smart and figure things out to do them the smart way. So I struggled for a long time. I'm not gonna sit here and say like those 6 months and everything turned around and was like, happy go lucky, right? It was a lot of work. So I had to not only, not my work ethic helped me, but I had to understand like there's better ways to do things, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so of the things that I had to do, right? Because what you said, you have to get around the right people, right? This community that you've built, you need to be around people that are speaking the same language, that are breathing the same air, that are eating the same food, that where you want to be at. Because one of the hardest things for me was I wanted to tell everybody, like family members, and I wanted to tell friends what I was doing. And it was so hard, brother, because they could not comprehend. Oh, I just did a $20,000 deal, or I did a $100,000 deal, or I did a $50,000 deal. Like, or here's what I'm doing. I'm trying to better myself. I'm trying to build a business, and so the negativity, they don't understand that and comprehend that. I'm not saying they don't love you, but their mindset hasn't developed yet. So that's why you have to get around like the community. The individuals that are in here are in the right place to begin with, right? Around you, around other high caliber individuals. That's what I had to do. I had to get around other high caliber individuals, and that's when I met my first business partner. Right, me and him, we hit it off, and we did some great things together. My next phase coming in was I needed to figure out how do I get better as an operator, how do I get better as a salesperson. And so I invested in education. I have well over probably multiple six figures of self development and professional development that I invested. So what happened was I was taking the stairs for such a long time, right? I got tired, bro. Like, how do I get out? Like, how to get? And I found somebody said you have to learn how to take the elevator. And listen, a lot
Mm.
of us are probably not in an economical state to do that. It's okay, but when you're able to, you have to. There is no if, ands, or buts around it. You have to invest in yourself. You got to invest in your education, because it wasn't until I did that it took me to the next level of where I'm at now. Yeah.
Wow.
Now people pay me for my information, right? And I'm not saying that in a cocky or where, but the demand is there, right? Because of the trenches and of all the work that I've done, right? And so when you look at that, it's like can't get there unless you invest in yourself. And I'm pretty sure you can relate to that too, right? And invest in yourself and make sure that's the key to get on that elevator. Yeah.
I'm right there with you, and sometimes I've been thinking about it too. All of the failed ventures that I went through, all the ideas, all the days that I was just, messing around on the computer, searching it, YouTube, looking at these different business models and trying things, making money here and there. They were all, pieces of the puzzle, and I'm certainly not done, and I'm sure you aren't either. We're just getting started. But each of these little ventures, they get us one step closer to that next level. And it's crazy, in retrospect to see kind of how everything that we do plays out in our favor, even sometimes when it hurts,
Yeah.
in the moment. But it's
Right.
always amazing, to be grateful for the things that happen, for us. And
Yeah.
I'm really grateful for the community. I'm really grateful for everybody that's joining us. We got 35 people. Ladies and gentlemen, you got to invite
Oh,
somebody you think would benefit
Yeah.
from being in proximity with us today. I know this was a last minute podcast, but we got to get some more people in the room here.
So got my both my guy Manny's are on here, Pettis and Manny's Serrano's here too. So I love it.
Hey, well, shout out to Manny Serrano for coordinating this, man, and
Yeah,
putting in a good word for
exactly.
me. I appreciate you,
Yeah.
Manny.
You know, you know what's crazy, John? Something I want to share with you, because this is gonna probably cut deep to some people, but it must be said, right? It's
Mm.
cost me $35,000 to learn this lesson, and I'm gonna tell you what we did. And we hired a Navy SEAL, an ex-Navy SEAL officer, right? Basically, he was a Navy SEAL, retired, and then he opened up his own leadership course, right? Brought him in not just for ourselves, but to train the whole team. And I'm being funny that this cost us 35. This cost me $35,000 to learn, but it kind of did, right? Because that's what we paid him to come on, train the team and everybody. You know, when it came to leadership, when it came to learning how to grow. He said this question because a lot of us seek the information, right? A lot of us sit and again, it has to be said. A lot of us are going to sit here today in this podcast that we're doing. You're going to go to YouTube. You're going to follow the next trend. You're going to listen to the next person that comes on and does this podcast with you, John. And what tends to happen is we seek this information and we're getting it. And what happens is there's two types of people, right? This is what he said, and it stuck with me. And I always talk about this. When you seek the information and when you get the information, if you don't act upon it, all you're doing is entertaining yourself.
Mm.
And so there's a lot of people that like to entertain themselves by seeking the information and never really going out and applying it, right? When you get the information and you go and apply it, you're educating yourself. You are not educating yourself when you are receiving the information and you're learning the information. If you don't take action on it, what you're doing is you're entertaining yourself. I want to encourage every single one of you. You can go to my YouTube channel and watch all 150 to 200 hours of me making live calls, negotiating deals from start to finish, showing you how to navigate the sales process and showing you how. But if you don't go out and do it, all you've done for those 2 to 3 hours, you've entertained yourself. Again, cost me $35,000 to learn that lesson because I was doing the same thing. So guess what I did? When you, John, say, Max, you gotta go. I recommend this book, right? It's a great book, right? Go and check it out. And I'll say, okay, what I'm gonna do is it right now, is it going to serve me or is it going to derail me from what I'm doing, right? I'll still take it. And then if I read the book, am I actually going to apply what's in it? So now I look through the lens when someone recommends a podcast, when someone recommends a book, when someone tells me to check something out, I look at it through the lens of what am I really doing with this new information I'm going to pick up? Doesn't mean that I put it away. It doesn't mean that I'm going to not use it at a later time. I just don't want to sit there and entertain myself anymore, right? I want to. I'm very strategic now. What information that I'm looking at, look at my current situation. What am I struggling with? What do I need help with? So is this book that John's going to give me, is that going to amplify what I'm actually going through? Or is it going to help me? Or is it going to derail where I'm focused at right now? So remember that. And that's a $35,000 lesson there for you that I just gave you guys.
Hey, well, ladies and gentlemen, we got to drop some fire in the chat for the $35,000 course that we just went through right here. But it rings true. It absolutely rings true, and that's one of the things that I really see too. Is we've got a lot of people that are in the Discord. You know, today we have a few less people than usual, but
Good.
what we usually see is real estate is not an easy industry. A lot of people portray this to be, glamorous. And yes, you can have some freedoms. I might be in a position now where, I can do this business from anywhere. I might be in a different country, but I'm still in front of my screen. I'm still making the calls. I'm still talking to agents. I'm still negotiating with sellers. I'm still locking up deals. I'm still listing them on the MLS. The work doesn't change, right? And that's what you have to do in order to actually do this business and get paid. And what I see is, a lot of people, they get really excited, to learn about something new. But just like you said, they just entertain themselves because they don't actually do anything with that. And so what we've seen is it's been the same people that have been consistently showing up, to all of the podcasts, to all of the masterminds participating in this community that are actually doing stuff. Because it's
Yeah.
not that paywall that's going to really siphon people out. And I'm not against paying, for information. It's important to invest in yourself. But what we're
Be
seeing
careful who you
here,
mess with, for sure.
absolutely, you got to make sure that you're working with the real Max Jiménez. All right, you don't want to be going with some off brand. All right, but I'm telling you guys, it's about being there and showing up every single day. Right, even if you only got 10% to give, you can give your 10%. That's 100% for that day. So
Yeah.
don't get
You know,
too excited.
I'm glad you brought that up, brother, because you know, as you can see, I'm very passionate about this because not only because I don't care who is on here. I can tell you right now, anyone that's on here right now, I've been through the trenches, right? Like I didn't just read this information, like and then give it to people, or like I've done tens of thousands of phone calls. I cut my teeth going to in-house appointments, hundreds of them, right? And so like that's how I was getting better. And so one of the things that irks me a lot is like I understand the fundamentals of what you need to do. Too many people try to skip that and try to go to the things like your tactics and your strategies and everything else. And it's like, but you don't have the fundamentals down yet. Like, what
Right.
are the fundamentals, Max? Like, what are those fundamentals? Okay, well, ask Manuel Perez. He took a lot from from this, just showing him how to use a calendar, what targets, like what sales goals do you have? Are you just getting up and getting on the phone? Like what's your day? What's your goal? Are you a sniper? Are you just shotgunning it? Like those are the fundamentals that a lot of sales training. This is why it irks me, because it's a lot of hype, a lot of rah-rah, and I'm not here to beat up anyone in particular, but in general, a lot of trainings out there when it comes to sales training, they don't teach you fundamentals. You want to be long, you want to have longevity. You want to be able to lay a foundation where you're in this game for a long time, and that includes planning, that includes your basics, that includes using the calendar. Like if you do one simple thing where it's like, I know every single day from 2 to 4 I'm going to prospect, right? Like those are the fundamentals that you need to have and sort your day out. And a lot of people don't do that, right? They're just running around, by the seat of the pants and doing things all crazy. And so that's what's helped me, right? And that's why I have passion for this, because I understood until I was able to get a grasp of the fundamentals. That's how I'm able to take. I say this, and I'm not saying this to show off or to impress you, just to impress upon you how important this is. We took a physics teacher who's never been in sales at all, right? This is on my Instagram channel. He's there. He talks about it on my Instagram profile. And we put him on the phones, and he was on the phone for 2 days. We put him through the training, and he got on the phone. And I kid you not, the second day he locked up a deal, a novation deal, just by
No
following
way.
the fundamentals of no rah rah, no pub. Yeah, and it's on my Instagram. I'm about to post it on my YouTube channel. This whole story about this physics teacher, because it goes back to what I say is that everybody wants the one-liners. Everybody wants the how do I get the price reduction? How do I talk to the seller this? How do I do that? Like, instead of how do I set up my day? How do I set up my goals? How do I get to a point where it's like I know what I'm doing every single day, where it becomes predictable and I become very efficient in my day-to-day prospecting, right? And then my guy Manuel here, and I'm looking at the comments. Sorry, plan, attitude, strategy. That's a system that I put together. He's been able to thrive just based off that.
That's incredible. Yeah, when it comes to the basics, it's something that I also do. Anytime I see somebody like Brent, I'm sure you know who Brent Daniels is, man. I learned about
Absolutely, man.
wholesaling and just off
Great
of
guy,
that
by the way.
information. Great guy, man. Love Brent. Just based off of what he shares, I'll revisit the content, because the content, just like you said, it's the gold's in the foundation of just putting
Yeah.
in the works, putting in the rep, listening. Even Sean Terry, I listen to a lot of Sean Terry, flip2freedom.com, flip2freedom.com.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
That
saying?
podcast, bro. That podcast played so much in my ear when I was at work. It's there. I have it so memorized, the intro.
Yeah. And it's crazy because all of the stuff that we use on a daily basis is out there. All of the
Yeah.
information, all of the techniques,
We
there's a
want to
lot of
skip it though, John. You know what I mean? Like we want to skip it, and we're chasing the unfortunately, a lot of us start with good intentions and then we become fans of the business, right? We
Mm.
don't become actual participants of the business, and so we're chasing the next glitter, the next, glad, like we need to become participants of the business, not just fans. There's too many fans out there. Unfortunately, it's not 100% of individuals' faults. Like, a lot of fly-by-night gurus have come in, right, and they've done a disservice to our business, which is a travesty, right? And so I'm glad. That's why, in a way, I'm so glad we're in the market that we're in right now, because a lot of those have been wiped out, right? And
So
so,
many. I don't see any of them, and especially for people that just like heard about wholesaling and thought it was just going to be this real easy thing. I've just got to negotiate a little discount and it's going to fly on the market. I've got countless novations that are listed right now. We are having to get them at deeper and deeper discounts to even get people to show up to these listings. And if you're not
we
ready
had,
to
yeah,
negotiate, you're not going to survive.
yeah, we had 200 about $280,000 listed on the MLS, right? And bro, same thing, right? We had a really good formula. I mean, the way we buy, right? We had a really good formula, but again, this market, and I'm gonna get a little bit deeper here. Like, the market is not helping us right now, just because there was a little bit of an interest shift, right? Like, the people are right now, they're in a bad spot, right? They're in a catch 22. All right, well, the government just supposedly reduce the interest rate, and they're saying they're going to make another reduction. Let me wait a little bit before I go out and buy. So we don't have that frenzy yet. Here's the problem. Okay, let's just say that the interest rate, because I think we're like at 6.25 right now, or a little bit less than that. I'm not sure. Let's just say we go down to 5.75, right? 5.75. I don't think
Mm-hmm.
that's going to happen anytime soon. Now what's going to happen, here's the catch 22, right, is that market's going to flood. Well, guess what's going to go up? The prices. So you that you're waiting on the side, those people that are waiting on the sidelines are now, they're going to be in the same boat. But I say all that because you need two things right now. Is you need to elevate two things: your skill set and your tool set. You can't be
Mm.
tool set. You can't be a one trick pony anymore. Skill set, you got to understand, like, you're in the sales business. You're in the marketing and sales business, right? Unless you're buying rentals and doing development, you're in real estate investing. But if you're in wholesaling itself, one of the things is you're in the marketing and sales business, right? Marketing generates the opportunity. Sales is what converts that opportunity, and then you make your money, right? So you're right. It's one of those things where, you have to be better. I mean, you actually require to have skills.
No, absolutely. And we're seeing it across the board on all the listings and all these different situations. And the first qualifying question that I like to ask somebody that fills out a form online for me is, why is it that you've decided not to list with a realtor? Or have you considered listing with a realtor? And I'll let them tell me every reason why they don't want to. And a lot of the time is because they have a negative connotation or negative idea about these real estate agents, or they've already tried to work with them and they can't solve their problem. They can't think creatively enough to actually be able to help these people out of whatever situation they're in. And that's why I really agree with what you're saying, Max, is because you've got to be able to think outside the box. You've got to be that person that somebody can call up and know that, hey, this is going to be the guy that's going to help me get this done.
Yeah, if you're not a problem solver, most people want to be closers, and oh, I'm a top notch sales guy, blah blah blah. Listen, if you're not a problem solver, so there's three things, right? You got to be a problem solver first. Understand your situation, understand the seller situation, understand the information that you're receiving. And then what you got to do is, the next thing is, you got to be a closer second, right? So problem solver first. Identify the why and the when. The why is the motivation. The when is the timeline that you're working with. Then your closing skills, you should be able to, not only, I don't want to say convince them, but you should be able to provide a solution that they buy into, right? And then the third thing is that then you should be a buyer of real estate third. Now, I'm going to say this again. That only applies if you're in the wholesale space. If you're in the investment space, like buying holds and development, like, that's a total different ball game. Right now, you got to look at the real estate piece for the return, because now you're in real estate investing. But on this side, when you are marketing and you are in sales, like, you got to be a problem solver first, closer second, and then guess what? Third, you're a buyer of you get to, put that real estate piece under contract. Most people have that backwards. They look at the real estate, right? And then they try to, you know, close the individual and then try to create a solution. They have that backwards.
Let's talk about a sales call, and let's talk about that framework, because now what I took notes on is, number one, you got to understand the seller situation before you can solve that problem. So let's give some people, some real actionable advice, some instruction that they could actually implement, right? Like you were saying, it's not entertainment here. This is education. We want people to take something away from this
Yeah.
podcast and go implement it. How
Right.
would you, Max, open up a call so that you can understand everything you need to about a seller situation and then go about solving their problem?
No, I love this. Dude, I like to keep it simple, brother, right? Like, there's three stages that I work off of, right? Number one, I call it a discovery stage. That's stage one. The second stage, I call it a qualification stage. Then stage three, I call it the closing stage, the close stage, right? So the qualification stage, I I I heart I would say I rarely ever in a phone call, you'll rarely ever see me in the qualification or the close stage, right? I am probably about 80-90%. I live in the discovery stage. Why? Because number one, I want to make sure that the person that I'm talking to is somebody who wants to have a conversation with me. Let's just start there. Okay. If I'm talking to John and I call John, I measure the conversation by these three things, John, right? I measure it by engagement, cooperation, and reciprocation. Okay. So if I call John and I say, hey, John, it's Max. I was calling you because you have filled out a form online and it looks like you were considering selling the property over at 123 Main Street. I just wanted to follow through on that on that information and see if I can qualify your property for an offer. Is that fair? Now, if John says, well, not really, I just wanted you to tell me what you pay, all right? So right away, I'm measuring that up against, is John really, okay, I got to start seeing now, is John going to engage with me? Is he being cooperative right now? Now, I'm not going to discount you right away, right? I'm going to say, look, John, that's a great concern. That's my goal by the end of this call. But in order for me to give you an offer, I first have to find out what I'm getting into. I ask you a few questions first before we get to that point. See, I'm still in the discovery phase. I'm living there. Most of your calls are usually going to end in that discovery phase because a lot of them either are too early in the sales process, right? They're too early in the selling stage, or they're not actual people that are going to work with you. Because let's be honest, 90 to 95% of the sellers out there have what? Options, right? They can sell themselves, they can sell with a real estate agent. So you're looking for a very small group that is wanting to work with you. So my goal, John, on any call is I want to make sure that I uncover that it's someone that, before I think about comping, before I think about what I'm going to offer, before I think about a solution, before I ask them if they're ready to make a decision, is this person ready to have a conversation with me today? That's the first thing that I'm doing. That's my discovery, and I do it really easy. I do it by just asking some non-intrusive questions. I want to get them to start talking. So, what is the suggestion here for your audience? Too many of us move too fast through the sales conversation, right? We go from hello to like, let me comp it and get you an offer right now. And what tends to happen is we don't know there's two things that I want to find out before I even generate an offer. Their why and their when. What's their why? Their motivation, right? And what's the when? Their timeline. Price and condition are really not so important to me yet until I find out their why and their when. What's their why? Motivation, right? What's their when? Timeline. If I know John needs to sell because he just got a brand new job that he needs to relocate, from Colombia to New York, and John needs to do this in the next 30 days. Well, guess what? Now I can start underwriting the deal. Is this going to be a quick close option, or is this going to be something that we can do as far as novated, right? Is this going to be something else? So what I'm doing in that discovery, I'm first want to know if this is an individual that wants to have a conversation with me. Because if not, why am I going to spend 30 minutes on the phone with someone trying to convince them to talk to me, right? Think about that. If I got to convince someone to have a conversation with me, how hard is it going to be for me to do business with them, John?
Right.
right? Something so simple that we skip over because, again, look, guys, like everybody that's here, I get it. We're all. Some of you probably haven't gotten your first deal. Some of you are probably trying to get your next deal. But remember, don't deviate from the way you do things. Sellers will take you out of your game, and then you're going to find yourself convincing. Make sure that you are talking to somebody who at least wants to have a conversation to you and is curious, that wants to engage, that wants to engage with you, that wants to be cooperative, right? At least answer some basic questions. Because let's be honest, like, how are you going to provide a solution, right? Someone that you don't even know what's happening in their world. So here's the thing, right? So we talked about being in the discovery, right? Discovery stage. Obviously your intro matters a lot there. Your pitch, your elevator pitch has to be very clear, concise. Once I have enough and I feel comfortable that John has been cooperative with me, he's answered all the questions that I need him to answer. Well, now I'm going to qualify you, John. What does that mean? I'm going to ask you, all right, so what have you done about selling, right? How long has that been going on? Okay, what happened when you tried to go this route? Okay, if you were to get the offer if you were to get the offer that you can depend on, how quickly were you looking to close, right? So then we start diving deep into a little bit more understanding of timeline and motivation. And then I ask him for the property condition, right? And we have to do that in a that's my qualification stage, right? Because now I'm qualifying you so I can move you into the close where I'm going to get into more of the money conversation, right? I don't get into money conversation until until in the discovery stage, I find out that you're somebody that wants to have a conversation with me because you genuinely want to do business at some point. And then I figure out what's your why, your when, and then condition of the property. And then we're going to get into the details of what can we offer, right? Think about that. How much better will your offer be received if you went through those steps, right? Initially. And does every call go perfect? Absolutely not, right? Sometimes sellers, just because I want to acknowledge and I want to be respectful to the sellers that I'm speaking with, and they'll ask me a qualification question or they'll put me in the qualification stage, I will answer the question, but then I'll redirect back to the discovery stage. I don't stay there. I say, John, that's a great question. Here, that, right? And then I say, by the way, before we get there, I need this information first. I redirect them back. You have to create the illusion that they're in control of the conversation while you're being the maestro and directing the conversation.
Okay, and what do you redirect them back to?
Yeah, so if I have someone right off the back, let's like asking me like, what can I pay for the property, right? Because usually that's kind of that is the number one objection in what we do, right? Price.
Right.
So we have to a pattern interrupt, right? If somebody says, hey, what do you pay? Or I'm just looking to get a couple offers, or I'm gonna go with the highest, or make me an offer, and I'm gonna tell you what I'm gonna go with, right? Pattern interrupt to that is like, look, that's, I get it. I understand. Obviously, ultimately, you're going to decide on what you want to do with your property. Unfortunately, I can't give you an offer because I don't really know what I'm getting into. I don't know anything about the property or your situation. So if you're just looking for a number, that's not me. And that's the pattern interrupt, right? And here comes the redirect. However, if you like me to qualify your property for an offer and you want me to give you an offer before the end of this call, let me ask you a few questions. That's the redirect right there. Right?
Okay.
Bring them back to that. So get them away from that, from the thought of give me the price, give me the price, give me the price. I'm not going to give you the price, and they're like, whoa, nobody's ever told me that, right? And then, but I will save them, right? I'm saving them, but I will. I just need you to give me, this basic information, and then I can do that. Yeah.
So, Max, I just got off the phone with a lead that came in through Google before I hopped on this podcast. And we were having a great conversation, built the rapport. She sent me over some photos of the house. And at first, she thought, she described the property to need a lot of work. She sent me the photos, looks really clean. I'm surprised she doesn't want to list it. I guess she thinks that it needs more work than it really does, right? And, I come up with my offer, and of course, I've got to buy it at a discount. I make the disclosure. I say, hi, I'm an investor. I just won't be the one to give you the most for the property. And if that's what you're looking to get out of it, I'd suggest, listing it with an agent. And then I'll talk about what that process looks like. And I'll paint the picture of how inconvenient it will be to pay for the closing costs and then the realtor commission. Sometimes you got to make repairs. If you don't want to paint the house,
Yeah.
you might do this and that. And of course, they get the idea of why it makes more sense to sell it as is to me, which I will novate it. I'll just throw it up on the market myself. However, it came down to price. And
Yeah.
my offer for me to be able to novate this with a roughly $30,000 spread, because I don't want to mess with prices under that. And I want to tell this to everybody. You get really slim on these numbers, ladies and gentlemen, where you're looking at $15,000 in spread after seller concessions, because this is really happening right now. Price drops, right? Staying in front of people, being at the top of the market, and then having to be able to always offer the newest, lowest listing to the market is what I'm seeing actually works. You've got to have some money, some equity to play with, right? To make repairs, to do some concessions. Like, these are the things that I'm actually seeing. And she claims, of course, that she's got a higher offer. And I tell her,
Sure.
I said, look, this is where I'm at. I'm happy that you have that higher offer. Please give me a call if anything changes. And I walk. Is that what you would have done in that situation? Or would you have done something different? What would you have done and why?
Yeah. So remember, everything. So objections are just stalls. Remember that, right? That's the way I look at objections now, especially in what we do. I look at them as stalls. The reason why is because they don't have enough information or there's not enough trust built there yet, right? So the objections are that's the way I visualize objections. I don't even get discouraged or even rattled by them. But also, when prospects say things or sellers say things, they usually say it from a form of being protecting themselves, right? A smokescreen, right? Protecting themselves from not feeling like they're going to be taken advantage of, right? Because that's ultimately, you got to remember, like, these people that we're talking to, and I hope your listeners pay attention to this, been in this property 10, 20, 30, 40 years in some cases, right? This is going to be the biggest decision they're ever going to make in their life. And so you have to build that trust. Now, when I have somebody in your scenario that says, hey, I have a higher offer, right? And obviously, you can't beat it. You can't go any higher because you've underwritten it to where everything's covered. Maybe even if you get a lower offer, right? So my question would be, let's say, John, you told me that, and hey, Max, I have a higher offer. There's no way I could accept that. So my question would be, John, hey, John, I get it, man. Like, I understand. But honestly, there's no way that I would be able to come up higher than what I just offered you. That's an offer you can depend on. Let me ask you a question, John. Can I ask you a question about that?
Mm-hmm.
So, are you looking for the highest offer, or are you looking for the offer that's gonna show up in your bank account at closing?
Mm. I like that.
Just curious. Just
I like
curious.
that.
Is there a difference? Yeah. Let's be honest, John. If you want, I can offer you 500,000 right now, and we can get the agreement going. Right? Do you want it? You ready to sign today?
I love it.
Right. So,
I love it.
are you looking for the highest offer, or are you looking for the offer that's going to show up on your bank account on the day of closing? Right. So we have to. So here's my explanation of what you need to be doing when you're talking to these sellers. That why I brought up they've been there 10, 20, 30, 40 years. They don't do this every day like you, John, right? And all your listeners. They're not thinking the way that you're thinking. And a lot of times we make that misconception. So guess what we have to do? We have to help them think critically. That's being a closer, right? That's the closing skills. We got to help them get out of that stagnation and whatever their brother, sister, mother, dog told them about real estate, right? We got to get them out of that. And so that's part of being a skilled craftsman in closing, right? Understanding that. Now, there's other ways you could have done it too, right? I mean, but that's my go-to, because what I want to do is I'm not looking for a yes or no, and I'm not looking for it to go correctly. What I'm looking for is I need to get them out of that state of mind where they're in. They're locked in right now. Price. Okay, John. Well, let me ask you this. So, John, I'm a little confused. We've had a good conversation. I felt like you and there's trust there. I feel like I can help you. I'm just curious. Are you looking for the highest offer, or are you looking for the number that's going to show up in your bank account at closing? You shut up, right? Don't say nothing. Don't even just be quiet. Let them react.
Gotta take notes, man.
Right?
Gotta take notes.
right? And then let's just say, I'm going to play devil's advocate here because we know things don't go perfect. I'm going to help you out. Let's just say they said, well, I'm looking for the highest offer, right? Like I'm going to go with the highest offer. Got it. Okay, John. Like I said, ultimately you're going to do again. I don't, I don't come back. Like I don't headbutt with sellers, bro. Like you got to live in two spaces. Write this down. You got to live in a collaborative state of mind when you're talking to sellers. Be collaborative. How do you collaborate with them? What you don't want to be is you don't want to be what I call in the wimp junction stage, where like you're the yes man, right? And you're believing everything they're telling you. Also, don't want to be in the aggressive state, right? Where you're forcing and you're being a brute. You want to be right in the middle, where if you need, where you have to be collaborative, you have to be collaborative with them. Be assertive when you need to, because you have to. That's part of getting it to the close, to the finish. Also, fall on your sword when you have to. Don't go the wimp junction stage and don't go to the aggressive brute stage, right? So let's just say that it says, yes, I'm looking for, ultimately, I am going to decide to go with the highest number, right? Okay, John, I get it. Ultimately, like I said, you're going to decide on what you want to do with the property. Can I advise you just on a few things? Now I'm taking my buyer's hat off and I'm gonna become their personal advisor, right? Here's what you got to do, because something we're seeing in the market right now, properties in your market are sitting between 90 to 120 days or even more, right? Now, if you have the time, John, and you have the money to wait that long to potentially get the offer that you have it listed for, unless your realtor is going to come every month and try to get a price reduction, because we've seen that too. Believe me, that happens. You can definitely do that. List the property for the highest price possible. It's going to sit on the market, but if you have the time and you have the money, so what am I doing there? I'm bringing the future to the present. Why? Because we got to make these individuals think critically. We got to get them out of that stagnation. They don't do this like we do, right? They do this. They've only done this once or twice, maybe twice, right, in their lifetime. So again, it's all about framing. It's all about understanding, making them think critically. And it's not a, hey, I gotcha. It's like, it's real, right? We're not lying to them, John. Like properties are being like, you can even share a third party story. Hey, you know what, John? Like the last time I helped Manny. I called Manny and I was going to buy his property. Manny decided to go with another guy that, that offered higher. And guess what happened? 2 weeks before they were supposed to close, Manny got a phone call. What do you think that phone call was about, John? They asked if they can have they asked if you let them answer, right? But I'm kind of answering for you. What do you think that phone call was about, John? And then obviously you wouldn't know what to say, but sometimes they say, I don't know. What was it about? Oh, they ask them if they can get a $50,000 price reduction because they're not going to be able to close. I don't know if that's, I don't know if that's I don't know if that's going to impact you in any way, or if that's something that you haven't thought about yet. You see what I'm saying? So I did it in a third party form, but I also made them understand like this is something that could happen when you go with the highest offer, right?
Absolutely. I love this, ladies and gentlemen. We got to drop some fire. We got about 60 people joining us today. We need to drop some fire for Mr. Max Jiménez, ladies and gentlemen. This is not just the rah-rah. This is the real. Okay, you can take this, all of the stuff that he's sharing with you. Ladies and gentlemen, you got to be taking notes. I got the pink pen. The other pens, they weren't working. I had to take these notes, ladies and gentlemen. You got to write this down. You got to be in that collaborative state to help these sellers think critically, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, and what I want to help you. I want to give you one more thing, because you are going to start to go into novations, right? If you're doing a lot of novations from what it sounds like, and I'm pretty sure a lot of your audience here is probably trying to either do novations or they're doing heavy novations. Besides price, there's one objection that comes up a lot, and the objection that comes out a lot is like, why would I list it with you, John? When either I have a friend that's a realtor, right? My cousin's a realtor. I have a friend that's a realtor. Guess what? I can list it myself. Why would I list it with you? Right? This is an objection. That's a real objection that comes up when you are talking about how you can help them, right? Whatever you want to call your innovation, whatever it is that you name it, right? Because they don't understand what innovation is. So one thing that I started doing and I implemented right away that works really well to overcome that, again, I always acknowledge the prospect's objection. Remember that. Don't try to battle. Don't get into like this war with them. Acknowledge, say, hey, listen, John, you're absolutely right. Like you could list it yourself, right? You could list it with your friend. I share with you why 8 out of 10 people that I've presented this program, why they went with me. Can I just share with that with you, and then you can make a decision of why you would want to go with us versus your realtor friend? I just take like 2 minutes to share that with you. Again, permission, right? We're asking permission to share that. Yeah, yeah. What? Why? Because they want to know, right? Genuinely, they're gonna want to know. So the 8 out of 10 people that went with us, the reason why is because of this. I'm gonna present to you. You have a pen that you can write this down. Usually, I want them to write this down. This is me talking to the seller. I'm gonna give you a timeline of how we work when we present this program instead of our quick close. When we present this program to other sellers, right? So here's what's gonna happen. Day zero, which would be today. Let's just say you said yes to me. You were okay with me helping you, me listing on the market. Day zero, we're gonna get all the paperwork done. From day 1 to day 7, what's gonna happen? My team's gonna get a hold of you, and our goal is to have the property listed on the market by day 7. Right? Here's what happens from day 0 or day 7. You're gonna get a call you're gonna get a call from my transaction coordinator. We're going to have a goal to have the property listed by day 7. Okay, follow me so far? Perfect. Day 7, day 30, we're going to be so aggressive with the pricing. That's why the offer I made you is based around a lot of factual data, so we can get to the offer. We're going to know if we're listed too high, or if we get a ton of offers. That means that's a good thing. That means that the property is going to go up, right? So by day 30, we're going to know if we're priced or we're not. The reason why we need that extra 30 to 45 days is because for the closing to happen. It's what's going to happen when you go with your realtor and your friend that's a realtor, John. They're going to lock you in on a 6-month agreement. If you cancel that 6-month agreement, you're on the hook for their commission. I don't know if you knew that or not. With us, we're going to know within about 30 to 40 days whether this property is sellable or not. And then what I'm going to do is once I paint that picture for them and I get them, I stay quiet for a little bit. John, this is why 8 out of 10 people decided to go the way, bro. I pitched it. My hardest call was this guy in Las Vegas, bro. This guy was a not a CPA. He's a financial guy, right? So green personality. If you guys don't know about personalities, you have to know about. So green personality means they're analyticals. Like they want the details, they like the numbers, they want the data. You think that you're going to close a green personality without data and without numbers? You're crazy. So this guy like puts me through the ringer. He's asking me all these questions. He's beating me up. When I provided that data for him, he was so blown away, bro. And he's like, oh my God. He goes, I can see why those people went with you. And I said, that's exactly right, John. So what's your email so I can send you the paperwork? But again, it's painting the picture, right? You have to be able to figure out to stand out, guys. Like, it's not like, oh, I'm better than the realtors. Oh, the realtors don't know what they're doing. It's like, what is your value proposition, right? And that's my timeline is my value proposition. It's like, here's what happens from day 0 to 7. Here's what happens from day 7 to day 30. By day 35 to 40, we're going to tell you, hey, this is not this is not going to sell. And you and I can talk again to either we make an adjustment on the original offer or we decide to cancel and move on our own way. And so when you're that transparent, like the light goes off and they're like, oh my God, like I don't want to be stuck in a 6-month agreement with my realtor friend or whatever the case may be, right? But let's just say, and that's the thing, right? Like it's not just beating up your competition. It's not just trying to convince them to do business. It's why should they trust to go with you, right? And that timeline, bro, if you start using it, John, and I can help you with it as well too if you like, but that timeline has set me apart to be able to beat out when they say I have an agent that I can list it with. Why should I list it with you? Because again, it paints the picture for them how quickly that you can get this done, right? And we're not promising anything. All we're doing is laying out the timeline for them. That's it, bro.
Well, I like that approach. And that's one of the things about novations, man, is that there's so many different ways, that people are pitching them. And I haven't heard that value proposition being the timeline of actually breaking down, okay, 0 to 7, we're going to get it listed. 7 to 30, we're pounding the market. We're going to know if this thing is going to sell or not. I think that that's very unique, and I can clearly see how that would set you apart from everybody else that might call them and present something similar.
So you're welcome, brother.
Ladies and
I'm
gentlemen,
just
give
kidding.
it up for Mr. Max Jimenez. We got to see some clapping emojis in the side chat. We got to see some fire. Like, you guys got to light this up. We got 50 people plus in here. How many of us are paying attention to this game? This was a $35,000 call on this call alone. A $35,000 mastermind, masterclass right here.
Let's go.
Love it.
Let's go. Rico in the house. Anthony. Let's go. Manuel's, I think he's dancing or something. I can't see what that is. Oh, man. Never thought about it like that. Yep. Taking notes. Let's go. I love it. I love it. This is what I love, bro. I love that people are getting and go out and apply it. Like, I love it. Absolute game.
It's the truth, man, and we'll see it in the side chat that people are really appreciative of the game that you're spitting. But just like you said, if you don't go out and apply what you've learned, you've just sat here to entertain yourself, right? And we want these podcasts
Absolutely, bro.
to give you realistic instructions that you can go and apply so that you can educate yourself. This is the number one most valuable real estate community in existence, guys. You've got to invite somebody you think would benefit from being in proximity with us. We got Mr. Max Jimenez on this call today, ladies and gentlemen, dropping some actual instruction and value that people can take and go and use right after this call.
I love it. I want to say something like one of the things that there's no investment like self-investment, right? Again, guys, like I've spent well over multiple six figures, right, in that range of self-development and professional development. Obviously I did some high level training, with the Sandler training system as well. I mean that wasn't cheap, and so it's been a journey, brother. But one of the things I love the most is being able to help, fellow investors and maybe being able to help other people to learn real strategies, right? Learn real strategies that work. But like I said, work on building a foundation. Understand what is it that you want. This is what I want to leave you with. This is like, what is it that you want out of this business? Most people that you ask don't even know. You know what I'm saying? They don't know what they want out of this business, right? And look, when you're first starting out, you got to take action. Like, I get it. Like, you got to take action, and sometimes you may not know what you want. And so, but as you start to get a little more experience, be more strategic with your approach, right? Sometimes we got to take the shotgun approach. Start becoming a sniper, right? Start writing down your goals. Start, and they don't have to be big, audacious goals. Start with 90 days. What is that you want for the next 90 days? Right? You want to make 100K in the next 90 days? Okay, so that's an average of, let's just say, forget the 90K. You want to make 60K in the next 90, that's 30K a month. So if your average deal, let's say, is 10 grand, how many deals do you need, right? So work yourself back, make that goal for the next 90 days, write it down somewhere, have those goals in front of you when you start to prospect. How many people do you want to have a conversation with today? How many offers do you want to make today? Like, I ask this question to even people who say they've been experienced, and it's like, well, let me see, what's your goal for today? Let me look at your calendar. What time do you prospect? I get up and I just get on the phones. Like, wait a minute, like, I don't understand that, because think about it, John. If I know every single day from 2 to 4, I'm going to say this again, what I said earlier, that's my prospecting time. What happens around 1:30, 1:45, John, if I know that's on my calendar?
You got to get ready.
Got to get ready, right? So your mindset starts to shift. If you're really going to take this serious and you are going to dedicate to that, that time that you're blocking out. So by 1:30, 1:45, it's game time, baby. Your questions should be out. Your goals should be in front of you. Your objections, your rebuttals to the objections should be right next to you. And guess what? When you have your goals in front of you, if I'm talking to prospects, I'm like, and I look at this and I look at this and I look at that, and I say, oh, this prospect doesn't meet this goal that I'm trying to hit. Next. This prospect, it doesn't meet this goal that I'm trying to hit. Next. Oh, wait a minute. I'm having a conversation here. Perfect. Hot prospect. I book one appointment. And that's how you start to build the foundation, right? You have to do that, because now you're going to be swayed left and right. So
I think that's something that a lot of people really do struggle with, and I struggle with it myself, man. You pick up the phone, next thing you know, you're spending 20 minutes like lost. You know what I'm saying? Like lost in
Yeah.
this role, and it happens, man. So for the people that don't have that calendar, that need to get more organized, what would you say the first step would be for them to actually start to live by that calendar?
So there's a thing called Google, right? Have you heard of it?
Yeah.
They have a free calendar, right? Here's the thing, bro. Like most of the time, we try to perfect what we don't know, and so most of us don't know what we want. So don't try to perfect it. What tends to happen is we get caught up too much. Just throw it out there. Put it on your calendar. Prospecting. My calendar, I've been using my calendar at a very high level for the last 5 years, right? And so every 60 to 90 days, it's an evolving organic like thing, right? And so because there's going to be things that don't serve you, you grow, right? You go to the next level, you grow. And so what got you there is not going to serve you anymore to where you need to get to the next level. But you got to start somewhere. So just throw the things on your calendar. The prospecting time, and not it might not be the best time. Throw your learning time on the calendar. Throw your your study time on the calendar. And then as you go and you start to realize, okay, so my learning time at 8 o'clock doesn't work. Let me adjust it to 8:30. Stick with that for at least 30 days, right? Before you start to make so many shifts and so many changes. It's one of the things that you have to do. And that's called that. The one number one goal to why you want to do that, John, is because you want to build what's called behaviors, right?
Mm.
If you don't build behaviors, right, as a salesperson, you're going to stay average. Here's the thing: from training a lot of salespeople and like a lot of people that come through my program, the number one thing that I've seen the difference between average salespeople and elite closers. Average salespeople ask for what information, like the one-liners, the paraphrases, the pattern interrupts, the introduction. The elite closers ask, what behaviors can I focus on to become better, besides the strategies and besides everything else, right? That's what I've seen, right? Is what behaviors can I focus on at a higher level, continuously do on a day in and day out, so I can become better at what I do, right? So that's the main motivator between really understanding like you need to have some type of structure. Doesn't have to be perfect, guys, because mine wasn't. But you're going to perfect it as you go. But start now, start today, because you got to develop behaviors. You got to develop things that are going to push you forward.
And what would be one suggestion that everybody has to add to their calendar right now?
Prospecting time, 100% prospecting time. So you don't. The reason why is so you don't get up and be like, especially if you have full-time job, right? When I was in construction, I would get up early on the summertime, but I would get up like at 5 or at 4:30, right? I'll be at the shop by 5:30, so I would get out around 3 o'clock. So then when I would get home, take a shower, eat, all that stuff. So I had it in my calendar that I would work from 4 p.m. all the way to 8 p.m. That was my blocked out window, right? And in that window, I included 2 hour, 1 hour of, because I used to do bandit signs back then, so you got to remember that, right? In yellow letters, 1 hour of writing yellow letters, which is considered prospecting because there wasn't a lot of cold calling. And then I would include like another hour of or 30 to 45 minutes of learning, right? Like what else do I need to learn? So prospecting time is really crucial. Most people don't have it, and what tends to happen is we just wing it and get on the phones. I talked to a guy the other day. I don't know if Manny Serrano's is on here. His name's Sebastian. And so I gave him this tip, and he's like, brother, he goes, that's amazing. He goes, because right now that's how I feel. I feel like I'm getting up. And this is the feedback that I've gotten from most people. I got a guy that was part of my program, and he goes, dude, I'm just getting up and I'm just making the dials. Sometimes I don't even know what I want out of the calls, right? So prospecting time, I would highly recommend that. And not only that, put these things right is how many follow-up appointments do you want to set? Sorry, let me back up. How many conversations do you want to have? For me, a conversation is, did I find out your why and your when, right? Like, is there motivation? Is the timeline, does the timeline equal to what you're trying to do? Find out how many follow-up appointments you want to have. So these are your follow-ups, right? And then how many offers you want to make based on that. So now you're very strategic, right? So if you're going to prospect for an hour and a half, you now know that you want to have 4 conversations in that hour and a half. of those 4 conversations, you want to have 2 future follow-up appointments, right? That move the sale forward. And potentially you might make 1 offer. For me, an offer could also be considered an offer range, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be a hard offer, but now more calculated. It's more tactical, right? Like I said earlier, when I'm on the phones, if this person I'm talking to is not matching the conversation that I want out of it, guess what? I don't have to convince them. I get to move on a lot faster to talk to the next prospect that's going to talk to me.
Well, it's been some absolutely fantastic, actionable advice and instruction from today's call. I'd love to, if we've got a little bit of time, open it up for members
Yeah,
that
let's
are
do
in
it.
the audience to come and join us up on the stage here and ask some questions, whether it be about your business, about real estate, about Max, and get a live response. So, ladies and gentlemen, take this opportunity to raise your hand. We will invite you to the stage to come and speak with us and be a part of the podcast.
Let's do it. Let's do it, brother. I'm down. I saved this. I blocked out a few 2 hours for this. So
Fantastic.
REI Cam, what's happening, man?
Man, how you doing today, brother?
I'm blessed, man. How are you?
Man, blessed. Actually making calls as we listen in. So I had a question,
Yep.
kind of show y'all where we at with it. So I'm actually on calls right here using Podio.
Oh, okay.
How many calls do you say, I guess, within one follow-up do you do, as far as like I do 3, leave a voicemail, text. Like, what would be your process, or what would you recommend?
Beautiful. That's a great question. So I never do less than double dial on each one of your on each one of your calls. If you want to triple dial, that's fine. So double dial on when you're prospecting, just following up with leads that you don't have a time or a date on, right? Your message should be very short. Is Cam your first name, by the way?
Cameron? Yes, sir.
Cameron. Okay, perfect. So your voicemail, leave it short, Cameron. So that way, 'cause here's the thing, Cameron. If I call you and I said, "Hey, Cameron, it's Max. I was calling because I see that you own the property at 123 Main Street. I'm a local home buyer. I want to make you an offer on that." You already have all the information. You have the power and say, "I'll decide when to call Max because I know what he wants." Right?
Hmm.
So what am I gonna do to avoid that? I'm gonna be like, I'm gonna say, "Hey, Cam, it's Max. I was calling about 123 Main Street because." Cam's gonna be like, "Because why? What's going on?" So the callback rate increases, right? That's what you want. You got to be, it's sales is a slide edge game, so you want to use everything you can to your advantage. So leaving a
Okay.
long voicemail, forget about that. Let's throw out the window. Now you can play with that cliffhanger voicemail however you want to play with it. That's how aggressive I get. I don't want to give them too much information. But I do that. Now going back to your
I like
original
that.
question. Yeah, cool. Going back to your original question, you got to measure your leads by 3 stages. Simplify it. Hot, warm, cold. That's it. Hot, warm, cold. Right? So what does that mean? Is your hot ones, you want to call those people freaking, 2 to 3 attempts on every single day, right? Like you want to make sure that, and what does an attempt equal out to? At least the 2 dials and a text message, right? That's 1 attempt. That's what I consider 1 attempt. Your warm leads, that's going to be your pipeline, right? That's going to be your people that haven't contacted. Maybe they haven't messaged you back, because you got to prioritize these leads, because you can't spend the same energy with warm and cold leads like you do your hot leads, right? Hot leads are somebody that you spoke with, potentially told you, "Hey, Cam, I want to sell because XYZ. Please give me a call next week." Bam, that's a hot lead. I'm on you like white on rice, right? You're going to get a text. You're going to get a voicemail. I'm not gonna let you go, bro. I'm calling you. I had a guy. My best deal was a guy that said it was so funny, bro. He's like, "All right, Max." He goes, "You're the craziest SOB that I ever known." He goes, "You've called me the most. You've blown me up. But just because you did that," he goes, "I'm gonna sell to you. Believe me or not, people will respect that, right?" So again, prioritize your leads. Leave it simple. Hot, warm, cold. Right? You're cold. So the way you measure that is that your warm timeline is a little less. You have some motivation. You're warm. Potentially, they said they want to sell, but you have no timeline. You have no motivation, but they said, yeah. Those are the ones that are going to be in your lead. Your cold are going to be somewhere where somebody's like, "Yeah, I'm not looking to do this 90 days or more, right? I'm not looking to sell yet. I'm not ready. Looking to do something in the next 90 days." So if you can organize your leads that way, now you're being a little more strategic. So that way you can focus on what's important, and that way you don't get burned out, right? Because you can get burned out, especially, trying to follow up very aggressive with, say, a cold lead, or even like a semi-warm that's gonna move into a cold lead. Once you do that, and make sure that you're tagging these, because I think in Podio you can create a tag, or you can move them into certain buckets. You're going to start to build your pipeline's going to get a lot better. And the goal is to really, the goal is, when you first start, I don't know how long you've been doing this, is to really just prospect, right? Build your pipeline. The second phase of that is to build, is once you start to communicate with people, is fill your day with follow-up appointments. Get a time and date from everyone. If I call Cam and Cam's like, hey Max, you know what, you caught me at a bad time right now, I do want to sell, just call me sometime next week. You think I'm hanging up the phone and saying, okay, I'll call you next week? Absolutely not. I'm going to say, Cam, you know what, I'd love to call you next week. My calendar is booked. If you're serious about selling, what day next week works for you, Monday or Tuesday? Neither one of those. How about Wednesday? Yeah, Wednesday. Okay, morning or afternoon? Well, call me in the morning at 9 or 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock. Okay, perfect, Cam. I'm going to slide someone down, because you are serious about selling. I'm going to put you on the calendar on Wednesday at 9 o'clock, so that way I can give you a call that day. Is that fair? So guess what? That is a follow-up appointment that I'm going to prioritize. It's going to take priority over everything. And that's how you want to build your pipeline, right? And then obviously the next thing is like offers made and everything else. So it's not just about calling the leads. You got to get strategic, and you got to make sure that you're really following up with the ones that matter, right? So hopefully that helped, Cam.
Man, appreciate it. That really did. Thank y'all.
Absolutely. Thank you, man. We'd love to answer some more questions. If anybody else has a question that they'd like to ask, take advantage of this opportunity, ladies and gentlemen. When we say that this is a $35,000 call, we don't exaggerate. The game that has been dropped here right now, you can go and close a deal for $35,000. Unless, Max, if nobody hops on, if you've got some time, I'd love to hop
No,
on.
let me say some, John. I learned this lesson a while back. There is no. I want to encourage your audience. There's no stupid question. I don't know if you heard this before. There's no stupid question at all. But you know what there is? There's stupid people because they didn't ask the question. As harsh as that sounds, it's true, right? We stay in this stage of not knowing, because we're so scared to ask the question, because we think it's going to be a stupid question, right? And so I want to encourage, like, there is no stupid question. Every question is valid, right? There's only stupid people that stay like that because they don't ask the question. I want to encourage, anytime that you have a Q&A session, like, ask the question, man. Like get it out. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, the question doesn't matter what kind of question it is. It's a valid question for you at this moment, right?
Absolutely.
Anyone else? Any other questions?
You got one more?
Go.
Hey Max, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. What's going on, brother?
Awesome. Yeah, so I just had a quick question. Getting more into like the sale. I had a wholesaling business where I had callers doing the cold calls for me, and the acquisitions and the dispositions guy. Trying to get, and I did all that without actually fully understanding the sales process, right? So I'm kind of like starting in on that end, because how are you supposed to lead if you don't actually understand what a good sales is, right? So I just wanted to know, you mentioned the Sandler sales system. Like, what were the really influential books or mentors, YouTube videos, whatever that you found helpful in sort of learning the sales process, kind of getting like your voice, things like that.
Yeah, I love that. So I'm very heavy because of Sandler, right? Consultative sales, asking questions, right? So there's 3 books that I want everyone on here to get, right? So the first book is called Asking Questions the Sandler Way. It's going to give you a framework of, how to ask questions the right way, right? Very, very applicable book for today, especially if you're looking to develop a framework when talking to your prospect, right? That's always been my go-to. I've read that book so much when I first started. The second book I want to recommend is called Questions That Sell by Paul Cherry. Paul Cherry, I think his name is. a phenomenal book to really understand how powerful questionings can be, right? How to strategically put your questions right in place. And the reason why I like that book, Questions That Sell, because it almost aligns with the Sandler system, even though he doesn't say, but there's a lot of there. And then the last book, and probably maybe everyone's heard of it, but probably hasn't bought it, is Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. I would highly recommend you to get the audio version because that book has taught me so much when it comes to mirroring and labeling. One of the top books that I believe in mirroring and labeling, even though Chris Voss is an FBI negotiator, the strategies still apply to what we do, not the situations. So don't get caught up too much like, oh, this guy's negotiating. It's the strategies that he teaches in that book that apply. So, but the thing is with learning, consultative selling, I'm big on that, like I said, and leading the prospect and pacing. Like those are the things that you have to realize is the one who does the most talking is the one who's doing the most buying. So what that means is that you have to get better at these things, which is asking questions, strategic questions that move the sale forward, not how's the weather today. Listen, if it applies, it applies, but don't use it as a sales strategy, right? Oh, you like football, John? Awesome. Me too. I like football. Haha. Like that stuff's 20th century. It doesn't work anymore. The reason why is because your sellers now, your prospects are more educated than ever. It doesn't mean they're smarter. It just means they're more educated. They got more information access in their palm of their hand, right? So you got to ask, again, the person who does the most talking is doing the buying. So how do you get the prospect to do the most talking? Is by asking strategic questions. How do you get them to talk even more? Is by labeling or mirroring what they're saying, right? These are the things that you have to learn. And you're going to learn a lot of that in the book, Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. And those two other books are really good books that I recommend to read ASAP. If right now, in your journey, you want to get better at having a framework to the conversation. There's another book, but I had that one's good. Those three are good. Those three is the ones that I always recommend to everyone, just because they're going to make an impact on what you do right now, right away. Great
Awesome.
question, by the way. Is there another one?
Thanks, Max. Appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Absolutely. Great questions. Max, I'd love to take some time, if we've got some time, to hop on a sales call. I got a lead that came in, and if we've got some time, and I don't want to push, if you don't have time, that's totally cool. But if you want, I can hop on the phone, and you could watch my sales process and give me some feedback, at the end of the call. Usually my sales calls last about 15, 20 minutes on the call.
Okay, let's do it. Let me go to the restroom real quick, and I'll be right back.
Awesome. Let's get it.
All right, let's do it. Oh yeah, there's You Can't Teach a Kid to Ride a Bike at a Seminar. That was going to be my third book. The reason why I recommend that book to anybody that wants to go get it, but that's more of a read. That's more of like, hey, I want to read about the Sandler system, and there's some good stuff in there. Don't get me wrong, but the other books that I recommend are applicable like today for what you do. Now, at some point, you do want to read that book because it does show you how to have a sales process because it walks you through like the submarine. But I'll be right back, and we can get on that call, okay?
Awesome. Let's get it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, you got to invite somebody. We're going to go, and I'm going to go live. We are going to have this sales call live. I'm going to throw myself into the arena. You guys can see how I actually make my sales calls, and we'll see, if we can qualify this lead and try to get a deal under contract from one of the people that just filled out my form. We do this all the time, so this is not new. If you haven't already, you can catch us making these live sales calls literally all the time, locking up deals live all the time. So definitely tap in whenever you get an opportunity or you see one of us are live doing these calls. Tap in. It's a great opportunity. In the meantime, I'm going to pull it up and get everything ready here. In the side chat, while we are getting ready to hop onto the sales call, ladies and gentlemen, I want everybody to drop at least one gem, one line, one principle, one takeaway that they have gained from this podcast. We don't want to just entertain people when we get up here. We really want to educate people. We want to give people instruction, actionable advice that they can actually implement on their calls, in their business, let us know what was the one thing, two things, three things, five things that you took away from this call. What are you actually going to implement into your business, having been a part of this conversation?
All right, I'm back. Let's go.
Welcome back. Welcome back. All right, so I'm pulling it up here. To give a little bit of context, I run Google pay-per-click ads, and I have somebody that has
Beautiful.
filled out a form. Let's see if it's one or two people. I got two people that have filled out a form, and I'm ready to give them a call. We've got one in Alabama. Let's see where this other one is at. Grace Drive.
Alabama.
Love Alabama.
Yeah.
Okay, looks like one
Alabama's
of them
unique.
It sure is, yeah. I will give this lady Sarah a call, and I can share my screen so that everybody can see what the conversation actually looks like. And I'll also send out an announcement here. Max is going to ring you. Sales call. Tap to see call. All right, let me send out this link to everybody, give them that opportunity to join us, and then I will share my screen here and show you exactly what my process actually looks like. You know, we talked a lot about, you know, what theories and gurus and this kind of stuff do, but it's a whole other ball game, ladies and gentlemen, when you're actually on the phone talking to people, you know.
Ever see? Are you dialing already?
Oh, not yet. I'm about to.
I want to tell real quick. I posted this 2 weeks ago on my Instagram. Ever see? Are you a football fan by any chance, or do you know anything about football?
No, man. I don't really do too much.
I'm going to tell you. I'm going to explain to you. So we have Ocho Cinco, and then we have Ray Lewis. Ray Lewis is like one of the best linebackers that's ever played. So he's big, right? He's a linebacker. Like linebackers are big. So Ray Lewis tries to tackle Chad Ochocinco. He's a receiver. He's tiny, right? So he tries to go and tackle him, and then as soon as he runs into, it's like running into a wall, bro. He goes, bah! So he fell, and then he's like going back to the sideline. He's like, I tried to tackle Ray Lewis, and the coach is like, don't be doing that, buddy. He's like, so what I posted that, and I put on top of that, the caption was, when a guru tries to show you how to overcome a sales objection live. Anyways, I have to send it to you, bro, so you can see it. So,
yeah. Well, I'd love to take a look at it. But we are definitely not gurus here. We are gurus. We really do get on the phone. We really do negotiate these deals. Just got an update from my agent while we were on this podcast. I had a showing today. Looks like that the showing went well. So we'll see how that ends up here. So let's go on ahead. I'm going to try to make sure that the podcast has everything as well.
I love some of the comments, man. While you're doing that, I want to read Shahab. I think that's how it's pronounced, right? Is that how you pronounce your first name? Shahab? Hopefully I'm pronouncing it right.
Yep, you got it.
Oh, perfect. Love the line about asking. Go ahead, John. And as soon as I hear it ringing, we can. I'll love the line about asking meaningful questions. Reading the book called "The Challenger Sale," and the biggest point made about sales is that relational sales. 20 years ago, people have more access to information, and you have to actually provide value if you want to be taken seriously. Oh yeah, absolutely. One of the things to remember is I actually, when it comes to building rapport, I have a training that I call the building relevant rapport based on trust, right? And so what I do is there's 3 levels of trust, right? That I've found to discover that's worked for me. Level 1 trust is really how if our composition is based on doing business with the prospect, right? It's you have to make sure that you are building that trust as quickly as possible, right? And so look, you don't have to like me, but you can trust me to do business, right? So that's my goal always on the call, right? Is getting through those levels of trust so that way you feel comfortable to do business with me, right? Because at the end of the day, let's face it, we're not trying to be anyone's friends. What are we trying to do? We're trying to get a contract signed. That is a business transaction. Are you still trying to help the seller? Yeah, absolutely. Are you still care about their about are you still, you should genuinely care about their situation, right? Because this is a life thing that's happening to them. But the goal, if you can build trust fast enough in the beginning, so you get to the first level of trust. Second level of trust is to get them to open up about their situation, and obviously the final level of trust is to get them to trust you to do business with you. So that's always my main focus. How do I get to build trust as fast as possible, as quickly as possible, so that way? And I even told sellers this on calls, because I was, oh Max, I really like you, and I'm like, oh, I don't want to. I said, I don't want to. I'm not here for you to like me. I'm here for you to trust me, so you feel comfortable doing business with me. And he goes, oh my God. He goes, nobody's ever told me that. Yeah, well, I'm telling you that right now. All right. So, and listen, you gotta be about your business, right? Don't be afraid to pull away. So go ahead, John. You have him on the line or no?
I love it. I'm gonna give him a call now. I got everything pulled up here, so let me know, ladies and gentlemen, if you can hear the call. It's ringing now.
Your call has been forwarded to voicemail. The person you're trying to reach.
You answer on the
Double
first
tap.
call. Say, hey Sarah, this is John with Cash or Creative. I'll send him a couple of text messages, let him know. Just
Perfect.
got your request to sell. And then I'll say, is now a good time? And then I'll call again after this sends. So she knows who it's calling.
Perfect.
Hello.
Hey Sarah.
Yes, sir.
Hey, this is John with Cash or Creative. I just got that request to sell for the property here in Theodore, Alabama.
Yes, ma'am. Or yes, sir. Sorry.
Oh no, all good, all good. Did I catch you in the middle of anything, or did you have a few minutes
No,
to chat?
I'm good. I'm just cooking dinner.
Oh, okay, well I won't take up too much of your time. It sounds like you're getting ready to spend some time with family, eat some dinner. What are you cooking up?
We're just doing some hamburgers on the grill and French fries.
Okay, well you can't beat a good burger. So I did just get that request to sell. Can you catch me up to speed? What's got you in the market to sell?
We're just wanting to move back home to where he's from in Colorado, but we haven't had this house entirely too long.
Mm-hmm.
But that's why I don't know if we'd be able to sell right now, but we're trying to
How
get
long
up
have
there
you
as
owned the
soon as we
property?
can because his mother isn't doing too good.
Oh, okay. So you're trying to get a little closer to her then?
Yeah, they live, way up there in Colorado.
Oh, I gotcha. When did you buy this one?
We purchased it in 2022.
22? Okay. And so have you been there for a while now, and have you been able to pay down the mortgage at all, or?
Yeah, we've been paying mortgage.
Okay, that's good. And I mean, is it in good shape? I mean, what's got you thinking about, working with an investor? Had you thought about listing this with an agent, or were you looking more for something more like
Well,
an
that's our
as-is
next.
offer?
That's our next step. I figured look into this at first and just see. That way we can try to, because I know with the market today and everything, it'll take forever to get it to sell.
Yeah,
So what have you done currently about selling?
Because I got a friend that she's had her house for sale for over a year, and it's a really nice house.
Mm-hmm.
So what have you done currently about selling right now?
What have you done currently about selling? Have you reached out to any agents to kind of see what they think about a price, or?
Well, I had one
We
company
can't hear you, John.
offer around like 145.
At
But
145?
that's the only company that's the only company I reached out to.
Okay, and what were you kind of thinking about that offer? Was that something you were even going to entertain, or is that way below what you think you'd even consider?
Well, I was trying to get like 150 so that way we'd have enough money in our pocket to, go up there, because to get a place to rent and everything up there, you're going to pay like $2,000 a month.
Right. Well, I mean, if you got it in 22, and you've been paying down the mortgage, do you have some equity built up now, or do you
We
still
paid $130 for it, and I think we only got it down to like $120.
have about 120? And so at 150, let's take a look. Even if you were to say, let's say you decided to list it with an agent, right? And that's to try to get the most for it. Traditionally from somebody that might want to live in the property, let's say they do give you an offer for 150. After, a 6% commission for the agent, and then another 2% for the closing costs, which is usually about, what we calculate for closing costs, you'd be walking away with about 138 if you were to decide to list it with an agent, and it would sell at that 150 mark. So if you owed, you said you've got it down now closer to about 120, you said?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So it is possible that you could walk away with, somewhere closer to maybe 18,000 if, there are no repairs you've got to make, if you don't have to, do any concession. I mean, that's like a perfect case scenario. What rate do you have on your mortgage right now?
I honestly have no idea. I think it was around 5-7%.
Around 5 or 7?
Yeah, I'm honestly not for sure. I know my husband, it's in his name. He was the one that signed everything, but it's been so long I don't remember.
Okay.
I do have the paperwork put up. I'd have to get a hold of it later on if I need to.
Yeah, one of the ways that we've actually been able to help sellers in the past is if they do have a lower interest rate than what anybody could go and qualify for today. We've sometimes been able to even just leave that mortgage in place and just take over the payments, and work out giving them some money at closing. That way they can get to where they're going next. So that could be an option here. In terms of repairs, what do you think the house needs? Does it need much in terms of repairs, or is it in pretty good shape?
I mean, it's in pretty good shape. The only thing, well, we were thinking about it here soon. I got my cousin works in construction, so he was going to come help us look at it and give us a price on it. But I was going to see about replacing the carpet in the house and do some different type of flooring that's not carpet.
Okay, so you got carpet now.
Carpet is, yeah, it's carpet throughout like the living room and then the 3 bedrooms, and then it's tile and the same tile in the bathroom and the kitchen, the white tile. It's pretty nice tile. And then in the laundry room, they got like some laminate flooring down, but it looks like they mismatched it. So if I replaced the carpet, I figured I'd, replace the floor in the laundry room too.
Okay. I see here that this is a 3-bedroom, 1-bathroom house. Have you made any additions or anything like that? Is it still the same?
Yeah, it's still the same.
Okay. So our
The
offer is
laundry
really...
room in this house is huge, like for a laundry room.
Well, that's good. You got that going for you. So our offers are usually, really influenced based upon, what has recently sold in an area and what is currently available for sale. The only other house that I see in your neighborhood that's for sale, at least at a quick glance, is the one at the corner there on Alice Drive. And it's listed now for $99,900, but it is a little bit smaller than yours.
Yeah, all them houses
like
are older.
Yeah, it looks like it needs a little bit of work, so it is definitely possible.
Yeah, our house is definitely one of the nicest homes on this block. The other homes, like they're original homes on this block, and then the original house on this lot was destroyed in like Hurricane Frederick or something, and they rebuilt this house in like '78, I think, or something like that.
Okay. And I know that you said you got an offer for, what was it, 150?
No, 145.
You got the offer for 145. I mean, is it something that you'd even want to consider? Because the way
I
I
mean,
see
if I
it,
could get 145 for it, then that's not a really bad offer. It's just I would need enough in my pocket to, make that trip and all that, because he's already got a job lined up down there when we're ready.
okay. So you've got a job waiting for you. Do you already have a place waiting for you as well, or would you
No,
live
I
with
figured, well,
mom?
we got to have money in our pocket before we can, get a house for
Mm-hmm.
rent.
Um, what do you think you'd be walking away with if you were to take that 145 offer?
Let me see. Trying to see. I'd be walking away with. That would actually not be too bad. That would be able to get us in a place and have a little money in our pocket to get by up there.
Did you have a dollar amount that you'd be expecting to net at that price point?
I mean, I'm not for sure. I'm not entirely good with that.
That's okay. I'm just curious. Based off that mortgage, you said it's closer to 120. So were you
So
hoping to
it's
walk
around
away
120.
around 120? So you're hoping to walk away with maybe 15, 20,000
Yeah, at least.
at least.
And we need at least 15 for sure.
Okay, so you need at least 15.
Yeah.
Ask her when she needs to sell by. What's her timeline?
So if we could come to some sort of agreement, I'm gonna take a look at my calendar here because I know today is the 17th. How quickly do you think you might be looking to sell?
I mean, not like tomorrow or anything, but
Mm-hmm.
probably within the next few months or so. That way,
Is that when you want to have your money, or is
I
that when you
don't
want to
know.
get
I
the process
probably
started?
don't
Ask
want
her.
to be moving like right in
So,
the middle of December, January when it's snowing really bad.
okay, so are you looking to get the process started here in the next few months, or are you looking to get your money in the next few months?
Hopefully, the money in the next few months. That way we
Okay.
can get out of here.
That means you got to get something probably going soon.
I mean, I think that probably mean we've got to get the ball rolling here sooner rather than later. Um, would you like to spend Christmas there, or would you like to get closer to mom to spend Christmas, or help me kind of figure out where we've got to be at in terms of a timeline?
I mean, I figured it'd be after Christmas, but I mean, I'd have to talk to my husband and see, because he was saying if we moved down there, we didn't need to do it like in winter, because
What do you think?
they get blizzards
Let
and
me know if
snowed
the
in
side
and
chat's
everything
too hard
up
to
there.
hear her and hear you at the same time.
You're good. You're
So
good.
you thinking?
So I'm not for sure, but they
Okay.
haven't really snowed,
I would
bad
I would
yet. So
follow
if
up
we
to
were
book
to
an
move
appointment
like
with both her and the
here
husband.
soon, then
It sounds like they're both going to make
it
a
wouldn't be
decision.
too bad. Just in the middle
Or
of
you can offer
December
them
and
something.
January is when they get the most snow.
Okay. Well, I know I caught you in the middle of dinner or making dinner. When do you think would be a good time for maybe me, you, and your husband to all sit down and explore what our options are?
He works Monday through Friday from like 7 to 5 p.m. So he's only off on the weekends on Saturday and Sunday. I don't
Saturday.
know. You're probably off too.
Oh, I work every day, so I can make it happen.
Saturday or Sunday work for you?
Would Saturday or Sunday work for you?
Well, this Sunday I have my cousin coming over, so he's coming from out of town. Can we try to do like next weekend?
Let's see. If we could shoot for maybe, you said that your cousin's coming in on Sunday. Would this Saturday
Well, no,
be?
he's coming in on Friday,
Oh, gotcha.
and he's
Okay.
leaving Monday.
Okay. Unless you want to do something tomorrow after 5, if he's available. Or is he?
I'll
You
have
said
to
he's
ask
coming
him
on
and
Friday.
see. Yeah, he is coming Friday. It'll be Friday evening. So yeah, that won't work.
Okay. And you said you'll be there over the weekend.
Yeah.
Would you want to do that Monday, the 21st, that next Monday, after he gets off work? Would that work?
Yeah, it just have to be because he gets off around 4 and he gets home anywhere from like 4:40 to 5 o'clock.
Okay. Would you like
Will
to book
6?
something for 6?
Yeah, that would work.
Okay. So let's do this.
So
I know that you've got company coming up for the weekend. I'm gonna run
I'm
some
gonna add you
numbers
on the
my
calendar.
side, and I'll add you on the calendar as well. Do you have an email that I could send a calendar invite to?
Yeah, it's SARANICHOLE 36@gmail.com.
36@gmail. Okay. What I'll do,
Tyler,
Sarah,
I take these calls very serious. Is there anything that you can think that stop us from meeting that
I
day?
do take these calls very serious. So, is there anything that you think would stop us from meeting that day?
Not that I can think of. I don't have anything scheduled for Monday.
Well, perfect. I'll go on ahead and I'll send you over that confirmation, Sarah, for Monday at 6 p.m. And then you, me, and your husband will all be able to sit down and explore, what your options are. In the meantime, do you happen to know if you could get me a copy of your mortgage statement to see if that's going to be, a viable option for us to consider, taking over the payments?
So what does that mean, taking over the payments?
Great question. So, like I said in the past, sometimes if you have a lower interest rate than what the bank would be offering today, it could make more sense, for us as investors to just take over the payments on that existing financing, and then we would just be making payments on your behalf, and we could give you, cash at closing, potentially more than we might be able to if we were to say go get a loan from our lender.
Okay. So we would still
It's just an option
technically
we'd
be
like to discuss with
selling
both
it.
of you in more detail.
Yeah, so you would still sell it, and it is just an option that I'd love to be prepared to discuss in detail for the call on Monday. But
Okay.
yeah, the first step for that would be for me to get a little bit more of an idea of kind of what we'd be dealing with. Because if you got a rate lower but below like a 5, if it's below a 5, I think that there might be something there. But it would depend, because I know that you got it in 22, and that was kind of when the rates were a little bit lower than where they're at today. And I just love to explore what all your options look like.
Yeah, because at the time when we got this house, his credit was pretty good.
Yeah. So if you had great credit and the rates were lower then, I'm sure that you've probably locked in a pretty low rate, in comparison to what's available today.
Yeah, I'm not for sure, but I'm pretty sure it's 5%. But I'll have to look it over. I got it put up.
Okay. Well, I'll touch base with you on Monday, and if you can, shoot me over, a copy of that breakdown to my phone.
Okay.
This is my personal cell, so you can shoot me a text. And then Monday at 6 p.m. we'll reconnect.
All right. Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate it, Sarah. I hope that you enjoy dinner with your family and that the burgers turn out well.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Take care.
You too.
Bye bye.
All right, let's go.
My bad, man. It's a little hard.
No, you're good. Oh yeah,
No. I think it was a great call. I just think it's a little difficult to hear and talk at the same time.
Yeah, this is so. It's always difficult when you got somebody in your ear, right? Or you got somebody that's giving you pointers, and you got somebody that's, But bro, you build really good rapport with her. I love that you acknowledged that she was cooking, right, making burgers, and obviously you took consideration that she was busy. One thing really quick is always be conscious of when you do have somebody that's genuinely saying, "Hey, I'm a little busy," even though. So here's the thing: if they pick up the phone, that means I'm gonna talk to them. They gotta tell me like I'm not in a position, right? I don't ever say. I love that you didn't say that. I was like, man, don't say it. Like, you want me to call you back or nothing? Like, that's the worst thing you can do, because how difficult is it to get people on the phone? Look, we had to call it twice. This is the prime example why you have to double tap. she answered on the second call, right? But I love that. That's major kudos to you for not saying, "Hey, I caught you at a bad time. Let me call you back," or whatever, right? Most people will do that. Don't do that ever. This is a tough one, bro. She's in a tight position. From the numbers that I wrote down, one of the things that I would have emphasized on a little bit more is what's stopping her from going with that offer. And I don't know if she said it or if she went into it, but that would have been my main thing. Oh, hey, let me ask you. That's a great offer because based on the data that you gave her, right? That's a great offer because I am seeing, some properties that are listed for 99,000. Like, what's stopping you from going with that? Like, I'm really confused, right? Because there's something that now there are two things that you're going to do is you're going to identify if this is a legit offer. That's number one, right? Second is you want to see if there's something in that offer that you don't like. Maybe it's a listing, right? Maybe it's somebody that really that's not serious, right? That was the one thing. The second thing, the second thing I would have, I wrote this down. How much do you need? Oh, the second thing is when you do present something creative, whether it's subject to or whether it's seller finance, before I present it, because you knew the numbers already, right? She told you I think her loan was she owes about 120 and all that stuff. So one of the things you want to find out is I would have asked, hey, so let me ask you this, because obviously you've paid down some of the loan. I know that her husband needs to move. I think that was the main reason why. I think the husband
Trying to get closer to
so
mom. She's not doing well.
closer to mom. How much immediate cash need do you need to make that happen? Because then now you're gonna know, right? That's a great question to ask. How much immediate cash need do you need to make that happen for you and your husband to feel comfortable in moving, those next steps? And so they're going to say, well, I need enough for moving. I need enough for this. You never know, brother. They just might need money to move. Maybe they're going to move into the mom's house, right? So that's one thing that we didn't find out. What I think, she did. She said she would like to walk away with 15, 20K after, though, she said that she was going to sell, but in reality, that might not be her immediate cash need, right? She might just need 10K and she's out of there. So depending on what her interest rate, her payment based off the rents, you could be getting a house for 10K, right? So that was the other question is what is your immediate cash need? And so that way you can present, because we do have another option that we present to individuals that, are in this situation. We can continue making the payments on your mortgage, or let's say it's a seller finance. We make payments. We make equal monthly payments to you. We just give you your immediate cash need up front, and then once you have that immediate cash need, well, guess what? Every month we're going to be taking over that payment. But overall, brother, it's a great call. Again, it's hard when someone's talking in your ear. Let me ask you this. I'll ask you a question. What do you think about the feedback? And then second, what did you think about like laying that framework of the appointment and letting her know that? What did you think about those two things?
Yeah, I would say that in terms of the calendar, I usually don't go about putting an appointment on their calendar. So that's something I could definitely implement. It was something that I don't usually do. Usually I'll come up with a time that works for them and I'll just call them, right? And I haven't had, problems, so far with that. Now I'm a one-man show right now. I scaled back my business to where it's just me. So like at scale, I can definitely understand.
That's okay, bro.
Talking to a bunch of leads, like how it could definitely
it'd be a benefit, bro. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, be a huge help because now you think about what I said earlier to Cameron, right? Big Cam. I said that the more you start to strategically work your pipeline, right? These people over here on the cold 90 days, like I have a full freaking, I'm waking up and I got 3 to 4 freaking callbacks. Like, you're on the back burner, buddies, right? Like, especially you're doing PPC, right? So you start to, work your pipeline at a very high level, right? By leaning into the calendar. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's that. I appreciate the feedback though on the rapport. It looks like everybody in the chat was saying built great rapport. Listened to her, acknowledge that she was busy, but I didn't let that stop me. Didn't let that get me off the call. I would never say, hey, well, if you're busy, let me call you back, right? No, we're gonna
never.
We're gonna keep it brief.
Yeah, never get off the phone until they Never get off the phone. You got them on the phone. That is the hardest thing. That's like 80% of your battle, right? It's getting them on the phone. So the fact that they picked up, that means that they're gonna talk to me, right? They gotta tell me they're not in a position to talk, and I need to call them back. But yeah, I'm gonna give you another kudos for I love your tonality is amazing, brother. Like your tonality, not only in the sense of the way you sound, but the way you you're leading the conversation, right? You're pacing and leading, right? Most people usually want to lead, which means let me get my message across, and I don't care what the seller thinks. The one thing I want to recommend is when you ask a question, make sure you let them answer. Like, don't answer the question for them, because you got to think about it. A very strong question, or any question in general that's going to move the sale forward, it's like a three-legged stool or three-legged table. As soon as you ask the question and you give them the answer, or you speak for them, you just took two legs off that table and it falls over, right? So what that means is there's no more power in your question or your statement. So just be conscious of that, right? And the second is that, remember, if you question and you give them some type of indication of an answer, they're gonna hide behind it, and they're not gonna answer genuinely. They're just gonna be like, yeah, I guess, yeah. So just remember that if you ask a question, make sure that you give them some time to answer that question.
I love it. That's one thing I'll immediately implement on that initial question that I asked, is like, why haven't you listed it with a realtor? Because I caught myself giving them a suggested response.
Yeah, yeah.
You're looking for like
That's
that as is. You don't want to make
where I am.
repairs, and yeah, like I'm listening, man. Like you talk to me, and I'm gonna actually like review, and I'm going to analyze. What exactly can I implement? Right. This is what I can actually implement, and so that was the first question that came to my mind, was when I pitched and I asked, hey, well, why haven't you decided to list with an agent? Going and giving them that response that they can hide behind, like you said. I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm just going to shut up, and I'm going to let them tell me exactly what they reached out to me for, right?
That, again, you're going to find out that when you start doing that, you're going to be able to, all you're going to be doing next is labeling and mirroring. And you're going to get more information than you ever gotten before when you start doing that. It's a game changer for sure, bro.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
No, absolutely. Well, hopefully that was a good example of somebody can just, hop in the arena, right? We talk a lot about getting on the phones and making the calls. These are what the actual calls look like, and they aren't perfect. I'm not following a script to the T. I follow a framework, and we just have a real conversation with people.
Statement here: ask the question even if you know the answer. We're always taught, remember, as we're always taught, this is the rewiring, right, that we talked about. Never assume, right? Is that it's true, right? Never assume. If you're going to assume out loud, so you can get corrected, right? So they can correct you. Every time I assume, I do it out loud and I say it to them, right? I'm assuming you're looking to get this done in the next 30 days. No, that's too quick. I need to be done in 90 days, right? So never assume that that what the prospect is thinking or how they're going to answer something, right? Because why? Because if I want to know John, right, I got to see the world through John's eyes. Just because I understand something doesn't mean that John or Aaron or anybody else on this call sees it the same way. So that's part of being a high skill closer, right? Understanding that, letting the prospect feel like they are coming up with a solution. They're feeling like you're understanding their situation, and that's the trust then goes through the roof on that, right? So that's why you can never assume that they know the answer. You can never assume that they know what you're talking about. Always ask for clarity. Always ask for clarity on things, right? Because the way they say something doesn't mean that's the way they say something, that's not the same way that you would understand it, right? Good stuff, brother.
Appreciate you, Max. Always ask for clarity, ladies and gentlemen. I wrote that down. I hope that you all wrote that down as well. Max, I really, really appreciate you coming on, brother. It's been an absolute pleasure to chop it up with you, man, and I appreciate you generously sharing your time with us. For everybody, and I know all of us want to keep in touch with you, how can we stay connected with you, Mr. Jimenez?
So the easiest way, there's two ways, right? So I'm very active on IG, on Instagram, but all my socials, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, X, they're all the same. It's the same username. It's the same username. It's at Real Max Jiménez. That's it, Real Max Jiménez. Every single one of them. And if anybody, again, I'm not here to pitch anybody, but I do have a school community, as well. Obviously, I talked to you about that. The school community. I have students in there and people that are actively, doing deals and actually want to get better. But if you want to message me, you can DM me. Actually, in Discord, I'm in Discord, but not as much as in Instagram. But
man, we gotta get you to pay attention to REI Rev, man. We gotta get you popping on here.
Yeah, brother. I was gonna tell you. It's I love to do this again, bro. Just because I feel like you have a great community. You're a genuine dude. I mean, the fact that you got on a call says a lot about you, bro. Honestly, like I got to give you kudos for that and high praise because, I've been on some communities and I've known. Listen, let's just put it this way, John. Like, I've been in this game so long and I know things that I should not know. Right, and it bothers me because it's because I know them.
Hey, well, one more thing to know is that John Johnson is the real deal. All right, I'm not a guru. Yeah. I don't sell a course. Not knocking any course, but that's not how I make money. Yeah. I make money by selling discounted real estate, and the way that we do that is by getting on the phone, talking to these sellers, negotiating really great deals, and getting them sold to end buyers.
Yeah, I love it. But yeah, again, IG at Real Max Jiménez. Go to my YouTube channel. There's hundreds of hours of everything we talked about today. I just dropped a video yesterday talking about how to perfect your pitch and your intro and your pitch. It's a 25-minute video, totally free. You can go on there and learn how to perfect your pitch and your intro and your pitch. But if you are wanting to, again, I don't know, John, with your permission, if I can just mention the school community, it's up to you. If that's cool. If somebody that wants to, move forward, take their game, even to a higher level. And listen, I don't upsell. I don't and I told you about yesterday about the school community. I don't have people go in there and try to sell them, a $10,000 product or anything like that. You know what I mean? There is a small fee to enter the school community because that is the filter that is to filter out individuals that that are the curious from the serious, right? That's to filter those out. But definitely, man, you have an awesome community, brother. Keep it up. Like I said, kudos to you, and I am blessed to be a friend of you now, bro. To call you friend. So
absolutely, Max. Absolutely, likewise, man. I appreciate you for coming on and giving me feedback on my sales cycle and everything. And ladies and gentlemen, I just dropped the link to that call that Max just mentioned about master your sales intro and pitch with the live tonality and all of that. So you can go and you can tap that link in the side there, and I'm going to drop it on this YouTube video for the replay. Guys, if you haven't already subscribed to the REI Revolution YouTube as well, please make sure to go and subscribe there. You can catch all of the replays, the live calls, the masterminds. It's all there available for you. Make sure to tap subscribe on both of those channels to keep up with Max, keep up with us. Max, tell me one thing before you go. I know that you've been doing this for a while, but what is your why? What keeps you waking up every single day, making the calls, staying committed to this? Why do you do it? And what is your vision for the future?
Yeah. So why do I do this and continue to do this at such a high level is because it's my purpose. My purpose hasn't changed from when I started this, right? I grew up with nothing. I didn't grow up around money, right? I went to a different elementary school from second grade all the way up to eighth grade, right? So I consistently moved around, and the one thing I want to do is create freedom and create freedom for my family and a legacy, right? And so my son now, my son is 23. Obviously I had him when he was 19. He's now on his own legacy journey, right? And so that's the thing that I always strive for, right? Is leave a legacy for my family, because that's my why and that's my motivator, right? Is to leave that legacy. And the second thing, my why that you can include that in is when people think about Max Jiménez is that I want them to think about, you know, what the purpose that I was driven by, right? Which is to be, you know, to give back, right? To give back and to really understand that it's all about, who you are as an individual and as a person, bro. You know what I mean? Like, you know, you want to look at that. Do you want your tombstone to say like made money, or do you want to say live the purposeful life, right? And so, vision for the future. Right now, I live at 90 day. I do have 2-year goals and stuff like that, but I do live by a 90-day increment. I'm a big traction guy. Right now, my focus is on building my community just like you are. I will forever do real estate, right? I'm like you. I mean, I can't stop doing real estate. In the short future, I am going to start up my live calls again here in the next month or so. That's going to be free on YouTube. But bro, it's just making an impact as big as I can. My goal is to get more loud than I've been ever before in my life, because I feel like God has given me a purpose, and for me to pour it out and not take it with me, right? Like they say, where can you find the best books, the best music, the best talent that was never discovered, was never written, or was never played is in the cemetery, and I don't want that to happen. Yeah.
Wow. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Max El Cerrador Jiménez. Ladies and gentlemen.
Let's go, baby. John, I appreciate you, brother. Let me know if you want to do this again, man. I appreciate you. You have my number, all right?
Absolutely. We're definitely going to have to run it back, and we're going to bring you on to make some live calls with us in the future.
Let's go, baby. I'm down. All right, brother. Thank you. Everyone, thank you very much. Go out there, crush it. Take action. Don't entertain yourself. Go out and educate yourself. Later.
Take care. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the #1 most valuable real estate community in existence. If you haven't already, you got to invite somebody you think would benefit from being in proximity with us. Send them that link, discord.gg/REI Rev. Guys, so excited. I know we've been talking about it. I promise, by the end of this month, the website's going to be out, all right? And it's going to be crazy. So make sure that you're bringing people in here, and we will catch you in the next one. Y'all like this? Is it a lot of value? You got to let me know. You guys gotta let me know.